Oh, England, the land of the elegant, they didn't think you would clap back, did they? Especially since for you, the 20th century took a very uneventful start. Well, 1914, you got tired of Germany's mess, and Great Britain declared war on Germany. This war was considered World War One. Now, World War One lasted a whole 4 years, not ending until 1918 on the 11th of November. After that, everything was cool for a while. And when I say a while, I mean 2 decades. Let's put it in perspective. That's like a whole day without stress for an IB kid. That's a long time, ain't it? Anyways, in October of 1936, the J-Roll March protest took place. The J-Roll March is also known as the J-Roll Crusade, and it was a result of a problem with employment, or lack thereof. For many years, J-Roll had been a settlement since at least the 8th century. Not 18th, 8th. Single digit. By the 19th century, shipyards had become a very important part of everyday lives of the Jerovians. After a major change in world trade conditions following World War One and a lot of mismanagement, there was a major decline, and this led to a lot of shipyards being closed and even more people being left unemployed. Now, if there was something else to replace this loss, there wouldn't have been a problem. But of course, there wasn't, and when money got tight, the men of J-Roll said enough was enough, and they were tired of being broke. Although the Crusaders might think that they're failures, to this day, their courageousness is celebrated and remembered through massive celebrations. You could say 1936 was a year to stand up for what you want, because 2 months later, King Edward VIII gave up his throne over his proposal to marry a divorced American woman. Now, if that's not love, I don't know what is. Now, these loving moments happened in 1936, but World War II also started in 1936, and it went on until May 8th, 1945. Years afterwards, in 1948, the National Health Service came to be. The National Health Service is a publicly funded national health care system for England, and it's the largest single-payer health care system in the world. Now, although there was a lot of health care provided, there are still deaths, unfortunately. Ones mostly remembered in the 20th century are the deaths of King George VI and Winston Churchill. Following the death of King George, Queen Elizabeth II came into power. The year after Winston Churchill's death, England went on to win the FIFA World Cup, and that was a big deal for them. Now, 1973 came along, and England joined the European Union. The European Union is a political and economic union of 23 member states that are located primarily in Europe. The European Union policies aim to ensure the free movement of people, goods, services, and capital within the internal market, enact legislation in justice and home affairs, and maintain common policies on trade, agriculture, fisheries, and regional developments. Thanks, Wikipedia. Okay, moving right along to 1982. On October the 11th, the warship of King Henry VIII was risen up after serving 33 years and tragically being sunken in the Solent by a French invasion. The Mary Rose was rediscovered in 1971 and was finally risen in 1982 by the Mary Rose Trust. Years later, in 1994, the Channel Tunnel opened. The Channel Tunnel is a 31-mile tunnel linking Folkestone, Kent, and the Cockwells past the Calais, near Calais in northern France. I have no idea if I said any of those names correct, just bear with me. 3 years later, tragedy struck on August 31st, 1997, when the beloved Princess Diana died due to a traffic collision in Paris. Princess Diana was loved by many, and was well known for her help in raising awareness and advocating ways to help people affected with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and mental illnesses, and many more. Now, the 21st century, unlike the previous, started out with a victory, with England winning the Rugby World Cup, defeating Australia on their home soil in extra time in 2003. By 2004, England's population had reached 51 million. That is a lot of people. This streak of good fortune didn't last long, unfortunately. You see what I did there? Fortune, unfortunate. Anyways, on July 7th, 2005, there were 7 coordinated terrorist suicide attacks in London, which targeted civilians traveling on the city's public transportation system during the morning rush hour. And on top of all of that, all of this happened the day after London had won its bid to host the 2012 Olympic Games. London went on to host the 2012 Olympic Games, and for the 3rd time actually, and 3 years later, Queen Elizabeth II became the longest reigning UK monarch on September 9th, 2015, and is still reigning to this day. She has been reigning for 66 years, and I do not see how she is not completely stressed out. I couldn't handle it. Now to more, current news. On June 23rd, 2016, the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union that I had mentioned before, or read off on Wikipedia before. And a month later, Theresa May became the second female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Congratulations, you have just learned the history of England. And although I would love to sit and talk for more, I heard there's a BOGO on chamomile tea, and I refuse to miss it. So, bye.